Welcome to Women's Speakers Association's WSA-TV Women's Premier Show. I'm Laura Rubinstein, your host and producer of the show. I am here today with Patty Civalleri, and she is going to talk to us about rebooting your business in challenging times. In particular, what if you're an author who writes about travel? Guess what? You can't do that anymore. Or maybe you can. We're going to find out today. And let's go ahead and say hi to Patty.
Hi, I'm Patty Civalleri. I am a speaker and an author. I am hailing from Long Beach, California, and my website is italytravelbooks.com.
Great to have you, Patty. Thank you for being here. I'm excited because just in getting to know you a little bit before the show here today, I learned about you as a person who can pivot, who can take on, not knowing where to go, not knowing what can happen and turn around your life and your business. Is that correct?
Um, yes, it is. And it's much more necessary now than ever.
And that's why I wanted to bring the show, because you've rebooted several times in your life. And right now, I think many people are in a reboot time, and a lot of people are using the word pivot. But you use the word reboot, and you have a story about a time when you rebooted yourself after going through, just finding yourself in a particular space. Why don't you share a little bit about that?
Thank you. Okay, I was on a photo assignment in Belize to shoot ancient Mayan caves. And it was a 1 month long photo shoot. And that was probably the single toughest job I'd ever had in my life. When I returned back to California, I could not find my feet. I couldn't connect with the world, and I'm never been that kind of person before. And I didn't know what to do or how to fix it or even what the problem was. But months went by, and finally I decided to, I told my husband that I was going to be gone for a little while. And he said, "Where?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to Florence." And he said, "Italy?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, when are you going to be back?" And I said, "In a couple months." Um, well, after he came up off the floor, we talked it through, and he was very supportive. But I had this incredible need to just go to a place in the world that had been calling me for decades and not have any pressures at all. Just walk the streets with my cameras and just shoot to my heart's desire and just break free and recharge and reboot. And that's what I did.
So what came out as a result of like kind of putting yourself in a place where there was, where just get yourself out of the state of mind or trying to find yourself, or what was the upshot of all that?
Probably the neatest part of that was that being a historian and with an archaeological background, I tend to want to dig deep into the history of a destination. And Florence has probably one of the coolest stories in Western history. So the learning process while I was there, I was in it every day and I dove deep every day, which removed me so completely from home. I was so absorbed in what I was doing in Florence, and it was like the perfect mind break that I needed. And so it helped me separate from my normal days and thoughts, and get separated so that I could put it all back together again, new and clean. And it
Mm.
worked.
And I think a lot of people need similar opportunity, shall we say, a similar to find a similar path. I mean, obviously, we're not going to be going traveling to Florence,
Certainly
but
not now.
not right now. We are not advising that, but we are advising that if you're in that state, what I heard you say is you were in a place that you were lost, you felt disconnected, you were burned out, you didn't know what was next. There's still hope.
Yes, absolutely.
And where can someone start to pick up the pieces, even by staying home, that could help them gain that clarity and remove from the state they're in right now? Any ideas?
If you're in an area where you can walk, that's obviously a really good thing. Right now, movies and books are a good thing. Exercise is a great thing, and push yourself harder physically, and you will escape your mind whether you like it or not. and you'll probably escape any physical problems that you have as well. Certainly many of them. Um, but uh, just finding ways, in this quarantine environment's a little more difficult, but taking a mind break, starting a new hobby is a great way, and just absorb yourself into a new activity that's completely different, but something that's always been appealing to you.
Here's what I love about that. All the self-help and business marketing gurus are saying, you got to focus on your business. And you're saying you got to focus on yourself. Immerse
Yes.
yourself in something completely different,
Yeah.
something that takes your body physically somewhere else or your mind physically somewhere else. That's healthy, that's expansive, right? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. You're right on. That's exactly right.
And so when you do that, and when you did that in Italy, what does that allow for something else? How does that allow for something else?
It did really give me a clean break. And when I returned back to California, um, it was with a fresh, clean attitude. I wasn't dragging and worrying about what was broken because I didn't even remember what was broken. I came back, I was excited to get home. I wanted to see my family and visit my friends and write my book and kind of dive right into my life. I completely forgot that I left broken. It really worked for me.
That's awesome. So when you came back with this fresh attitude, that's when you wrote all these travel books. You have
Yeah.
books on Florence and Venice and Rome, and now they're sitting in a warehouse.
Yes, yes.
So
So they
here
were,
we, yeah.
yeah. So yes, sales were moving along beautifully, and yes, they are sitting in my distributors' warehouses around the United States. Oh,
So now we're in, so for those of you who are thinking, wow, she just had the life when she could travel, but now, you chose a business that's now also had to reboot. You have to reboot again. Oh my gosh. So now what does the reboot look like for you? How did you manage this? So you're in a much better place mentally. You've got your perspective, you got your groove back, and now your groove, the rug was pulled out from under you, but you don't look like it has been.
um, thank you for that. I basically, I'm so used to pivoting that going into quarantine didn't give me the big shock that I know some people really kind of received at the beginning of this. I basically took a look at, I just realized instantly that, oh my gosh, my books, my products just stopped selling. I just completely went out of business in one day. And that was a tough thing. I said, you know what? Told my husband, I'm just going to mourn. I'm going to mourn for a couple of days and then I'll be over it. And I did, the loss of my business. So I took a look at what I've learned when I was doing the research for writing these books. And my research was fairly deeply in depth. And I looked at Florence and Rome and Venice, and I noticed, something that was really interesting. And they have a great history of art and architecture that is just mind blowing. And I thought, well, how do people go to museums? How do they appreciate art? And and I have asked that question to a lot of people over the last couple of years. And so many people say, gee, I wish I would have taken that in college. I had no idea how to go into a museum or how to open an art book or how to understand what I'm looking at. And I
Yeah.
thought, okay, I am going to write a book that's going to be good enough for academia, but it's going to be easy enough for mom to read. And so I'm writing that book now, and it's a Renaissance and Baroque Italian art history book, and it's called Behind the Fig Leaf. It's all the backstories and secrets and how to understand from the back end and from having nothing to draw on. How do you know what the heck you're looking at? And that's what I'm doing now. So I think just sort of what you were asking is how do you reboot your business? Um, I think in terms of, okay, I just took what I've already learned from researching all of my other books, and I'm just going to create a whole new book for that because I know how to write and I know how to, you know, put a book together. So um, I'm just going to sort of repurpose what I already knew and what I've already written and create a whole new book for a whole new market that doesn't have to travel during the coronavirus.
It's a beautiful thing. So you just gave a really golden nugget there. Ask yourself the question, how can you repackage or repurpose what you already,
Absolutely.
this great wealth of knowledge, of wisdom, of research of tools in your tool bag and reinvent it for a new medium, for a
Right.
new purpose. So, you can now go, like with your book, I feel like I could go virtually, or it's not going to be virtually, it'll be reading a book, but, in my mind, I can go to these museums and, you know, pre-screen the artwork from a deep place, because I've been in, and I'm so glad you were asking people about what's the experience like when you go to a museum. Like, do you really get? And it's like, I don't like the way that guy's smiling. It's like, that's my appreciation of it. Or why is it so dark? Why is
Right.
it not, why is all these pictures in this room so dark? But then you bring in the history of the time, and the art training of the time, and the politics of the time, and the mood, and the whatever. And then you're like, oh, this is like really interesting. I'm now learning about somebody else's world, a whole culture's world, by
Exactly.
really knowing what these different things that I'm seeing, but I'm not knowing that they matter to me. They're just annoying me, or they're just there. I don't have a meaning for them. So giving meaning is making people enjoy things more. And you're doing that by rebooting your business and bringing the best of what that other people haven't had a chance to benefit from yet. So wow,
Right.
what else are you doing?
I have another project that's come across my desk as well. I am going to be co-publishing a book through HarperCollins, which is the Trader Joe's story. And I'm hoping that some of your audience is familiar with Trader Joe's, but it's a wonderful story, and it was written by the real Joe about his story and how he fought against what was the typical standard way to start a grocery business, how he sort of turned everything around to create something that has been unique and is still unique for all of us today.
It really is. That's phenomenal. And how did you come across that opportunity?
Really, my husband's best friend was Joe's partner, and Joe wrote the book and gave it to his friend, and his friend sat on it for 10 years and didn't know what to do with it. And he came to me because I'm a book publisher, and said, can we, he said, I'd like to create a legacy for Joe, can you help me here? And so yes, and I'm absolutely delighted, because who doesn't love Trader Joe's?
Love him. I love him. Full-fledged fan here. So, what there's a gold nugget in there, though. Remember, we talked about
I love your
repurposing.
nugget.
Yes, the the repurposing was one, but now this was your connections. These are who are the connections you're already connected to? Might they have something they just are passionate about getting to the next state, to that your expertise can help. Maybe you're not a publisher, but maybe you're a healer, and maybe they've been putting off something in their healing life,
Yeah,
that they're finally ready to take on their health or their exercise, and maybe you're in that field. So who are the connections that might be craving what you have,
right,
or you could do collaborations with other people. Maybe you're a fitness person, but maybe you can collaborate with a nutrition person who just got an opportunity, right,
right.
to do things. There are so many ways you can reboot your business, and you are so inspiring with your stories of how you've done it. I mean, travel, like some people can say, oh my gosh, my business is gone because nobody's going to travel, nobody's going to buy my book. But no, look how inspired you are, how creative you're being, how opportunities are coming to you. Is there any piece of advice that could help people that comes to mind for you, that we haven't yet mentioned, that might energize people to stay away from being devastated about their position, that could get them into being more hopeful?
Something that I think would be really helpful would be to take a look at any either something that you're really good at and sharing that, which is what you had just said, or finding a problem that you have and finding other people, especially online right now, finding other people with a similar problem and go in as a group to solve the problem. Find other people with like issues, um, and solve it together, or come up with the answer together, or service that market together. Um, but finding partnerships and other people to work with is magical. And to know you're not in this alone is I think amazing, because
Yeah.
nobody wants to be alone.
Yeah, right. We're not alone. We are in different spaces and places and dealing with this and circumstances, but that doesn't have to keep us distant. That can bring us together, especially when you find people
You're
going through a brilliant piece of advice. Thank you so much. Now, I want to talk a little bit about Women Speakers Association. What brought you to the association and what value is it creating for you already?
I'm almost a little bit embarrassed to say. Um, I have a very broad tomboy streak, that, traveling, with archaeologists to deep, dark caves all around the world in search of lost and ancient cultures kind of does take a lot of tomboy. Not a lot of women do that. In fact, I'm often, one of one or two women that will go on these trips. I want to encourage women to get out and do that. But because I've been involved in men's, in the world of men most of my life, I haven't been around a ton of professional women. And I saw this organization as a wonderful group of women who were out there in the world, and they're professional and they're thinking, they're curious, they're compassionate, they want to share, they're there to share. And I'm that girl too. And so I was hoping that I'm very new with this. I'm brand new. I've only been a member for 1 month. And so I'm looking forward to the future of sharing and meeting a lot of women in this organization.
Well, we love that you're here. We love to bring you out to our community and people can find you at your website. Like you said, they'll be in in the notes and in the comments here. So, um, the thing, if you want to join Women Speakers Association viewers, or you want a sisterhood like Patty was talking about, to connect to support each other, to give you ideas, inspiration, to give you feedback, to train you, to help you leverage your current work. We have the trainings, we have resources, we have the community. Just go to joinwsa.com, learn more about us. But if you need a roadmap, we have one free for everyone right now at Speaker Success Plan. So if you want to get your message out in the world, download our free Speaker Success Plan, start there, and then we'd love to welcome you into our community. Thank you so much, Patty, for being here. We'll be back again with another
So much for
episode.
having me.
Well, yes, you're so welcome. We're so honored to
It's
have you
been
as a part of our community. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura.
You're welcome. Bye-bye now, everyone.